Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I'm Astha Oriel, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Mr. Tarun Garg, who is whole-time director and chief operating officer at Hyundai Motor India. Thank you for joining us, sir. I would begin by asking, Hyundai is present in India since almost 30 years. And last year, you also got listed in Indian bourses. So how has Hyundai Motors listing on the Indian bourses aided its growth plan in India?
Thank you very much. And like you mentioned, Astha, we have been in India for 28 years and we are one of the few global OEMs to have got so much love and so much success in India. So we are very proud and we believe that IPO was a very natural step in our second growth phase in India, and we are very thankful of having a successful IPO. And of course, as you know, that we have already shared that we are going to invest 32,000 crore rupees from until 2032. In India, and our new plant in Pune is going to start operations in Q3 of this financial year. So, of course, we have already announced that we are going to have 26 new models, including uplifts, in the next 5 years. So, all in all, it has been a very satisfying year, and we are very, very positive. Of course, everybody wants to be in India. It is a bright spot in the world economy. Even the latest numbers which are coming of the GDP growth for this year, India growth of more than 6% is much higher than the world growth of 2.3%. And being in automobiles, which are a reflector of the economy, and then being in Hyundai. So India, then automobiles and Hyundai, I think it's a very, very good combination.
Certainly, India is a very important market for Hyundai, like you mentioned. But in the past few months, Hyundai has witnessed a declining in its market share. So I just want help us understand what are the factors behind this and what Hyundai is doing to address this issue.
So look, like I mentioned, we have been in India for 28 years, and of course, the last completed financial year, we were a clear number 2. Of course, there would be months where some kind of changes could happen. What is most important is the direction. What is most important is our philosophy of having a very good balance between domestic and exports, and a very good balance between volume, market share, and profit. I think this has really helped us in the past, and we continue to follow this strategy. Now, with the Pune plant coming in, not only more capacity will come in, which will help us to increase the domestic volumes, but also the new model cycle has been married to this new plant. So very clearly, the capacity enhancement along with the new model introduction will help us to really get back some of the lost market share. I think this is very important. The second thing is our approach of profitability, export orientation, which brings in such precious foreign exchange to the country, also helps us to tide over some of the not so good periods in the domestic market. If you see, last 3-4 years have been very good, of very high growth. But this year, the SIAM has also predicted a growth of about 1% for the industry. And also there's a lot of, sometimes you hear news about distress or too much discounting. I think quality of growth is very important. So we believe a good balance where we can protect our volume and where we can have a good profit as well is the approach to take. And in any case, we are enhancing our exports as well. And now the new plant is only 3-4 months away. The moment it kicks in, I think we can again come back to the growth in the domestic market as well.
Help us also understand that you have addressed that there is competition in the domestic passenger vehicle market. So how are you differentiating your product lineup in line with this competition?
So if you see, the advantage we have is, one, we have an entire lineup. We are present in hatches, we are present in sedans, we are present in SUVs, we have then EVs, we have CNG, we have petrol, we have diesel. Globally, of course, we have access to all technologies, even hybrids, strong hybrids, plug-in hybrids, even hydrogen for that matter. I think to be a part of Hyundai Motor Group, which is the third biggest OEM globally, is a huge advantage. On top of it, because our group is investing so much into the future technologies, cleaner technologies, we can always decide to bring them into India, whenever we feel convenient, whenever we feel that yes, market is ready and we are ready. So I think this is one very big way of differentiating, that you are technology agnostic. The second thing is, if you see, we have always tried to be ahead of the curve in terms of identifying market trends. For example, in 2015, we launched the Creta in India. That time SUVs used to contribute only 13% to the overall sales. Today in the industry also, SUVs are contributing 54%. And we are, of course, 68 to 70%. That is the second thing. The third thing is ADAS or any other future technologies. I think again, having access to those technologies helps us to democratize. Like for example, we started with only one model in ADAS about 2 years back, and now we have 8 models who have ADAS. So very quickly we can bring in those global technologies to India, because we feel India is evolving at a very fast pace, and also for the Indian customer, aspiration is taking over functionality, where all these features become important. ADAS, in fact, ADAS has it started with aspiration, but now with highways coming in, and high speed on these highways are in fact sometimes 120 kilometers per hour, ADAS gives you it's a very strong protection mechanism. So it starts with aspiration but quickly changes into functionality. Sunroofs, now everybody talks about sunroofs. 50% of the cars I'm selling are with sunroofs. Automatics, we are providing 4 different kinds of automatics to the customer. So I think you have access to technology and you give to the customer at the right price always helps you.
So you mentioned that Hyundai is becoming technologically agnostic, and you in the recent press conference you also mentioned that Hyundai will be introducing 6 new electric vehicles. Help us understand the timeline of these electric vehicles, when they will be rolled out, and what is your penetration target, let's say by 2030?
Like I told you, look, we are a listed company, so there's a lot of responsibilities. So we share the information about the future models only at the right time, So that is one thing you have to bear with us. So far what we have announced is that there are going to be 26 launches, out of which 20 will be in the IC space and 6 will be in the EV space. This includes new models as well as refreshments. So that is very, very important. The second question was what do we feel about the penetration? So different people have different kind of targets and this thing. What I can very clearly see is that this year a very quick increase in EV penetration is happening. It was about 2.5% till last year, and this year already we are looking at 3.5. I think last month 3.8 or something. So very clearly penetration increase. I feel minimum 15% should be achieved by 2030, and Hyundai with its good product portfolio, with a very strong localization. If you see in terms of, it's not only products, we are localizing the entire ecosystem. So battery packs have already been localized. We have already partnered with the Indian player, and we are going to be partnering to make electric cells as well, LFP cells. So I think that's the second thing. We are looking at power electronics and drivetrain. Also, if you see, one big shift which has happened is, earlier we were focusing on the AC charging infrastructure, but based on the market research we have realized that customer is looking at DC market charging infrastructure. So we are now very aggressively looking at making this DC charging infrastructure. Already more than 80 are operational. By 2031-32 we will have 600 these fast charging stations, chargers across the country, which will help us really to increase the penetration. Plus government also, if you see, PM e-drive scheme has come in, where government has decided to really make on the highways this charging structure. So you can see that once these charging stations are coming in, the localization is happening in, and the more and more models from more and more companies is happening in, the entire ecosystem is moving towards EVs.
Help us understand that in India the EV penetration is still at 2 to 3%, unlike some other Western markets. So in your analysis, what is the biggest challenge for Indian EV space to take off at present?
So look, there are a couple of things. When we started in 2019, Kona electric was introduced. That was a time when people were only talking about electric, and Kona was the first full-fledged SUV electric. So we got some very good success, some lot of interest. At the same time, we also got a lot of feedback that 85% of the customers were charging at home, but they were driving mostly in the city. They were hesitant to take it across across cities or out in the on the highways. So that is why that was one thing which we did. The second thing we realized was that what is the sweet spot for the customer in terms of the range he's looking at. So we have realized that the sweet spot is about 300 kilometers plus is the sweet spot. Then if he's comfortable, also you have to give him a very good solution at home. So if you see with the Creta, especially with the 11 kilowatt charger, a very good solution has been given, where the charging at home happens between 4 hours to 5 hours. Earlier charging used to happen in 8 hours or 9 hours. So I think this is very convenient. Also through the app, he can monitor the charging. So that was a home solution. I already mentioned about the highways, and the third thing, of course, is on the cost. So with the localization coming in, I think we can really have EVs at a very reasonable cost. So I think all these things, three put together, will really aid the penetration of EVs. On top of it, anyway, government is giving a very good GST rate of 5%. So many states have given relaxations in terms of road tax on EVs, the PM E-Drive scheme. So very clearly, all the stakeholders, whether it is central government, whether it is state government, whether it is OEMs, whether it is the private charging operators, everybody is joining hands to fuel this electrification.
I would also like to understand that, given that, global automotive industry is undergoing a very tumultuous time with geopolitical tensions around the world, how do you see EV penetration in India taking up in that scenario? And what is Hyundai Motor India doing to address issues such as a rare earth metal import ban?
So there are two things which you have asked. One is, of course, if you see globally EVs, of course the penetration, if you see in China, is more than 35%, I believe. Europe is around 20%, US and all are at 10%, but India is still at 2.5%. So India is at a very early stage of electrification. So there is still a lot of opportunity for India to grow. Plus, there is so much of focus from the government on this. So we feel, a big acceleration is still to come as far as India is concerned. On the rare materials, I would say that as far as Hyundai India is concerned, we have no problem. So we are good to go for the near future.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to, like you mentioned, that you're also planning to introduce hybrids. Help us understand that how hybrids fit in Hyundai India's long-term commitment for electrification in India, and what sort of penetration are you targeting by 2030?
So look, if you see globally, hybrids are doing so well, and Hyundai also, like I mentioned, that we have all kinds of technologies, and we are seeing a very good traction in hybrids globally as well. So we believe India is such a big country that there is an opportunity for all kinds of technologies. And as Hyundai, we are not dependent on only one technology. So we would feel that whether it is electric, whether it is hybrid, whether it is CNG, all these technologies will coexist. And we should be the one, because we have access to all these technologies, we should be the one driving it. On top of it, as an energy source, we are also trying to develop the hydrogen ecosystem. You would know that we have already collaborated with IIT Madras for this collaboration. We are trying to bring down the cost of hydrogen, going forward, and also trying to create an ecosystem, I think, which will be a very good energy source as well. So like I mentioned, we are agnostic to technology, and at the same time we want that everything should be available to the Indian customer. At the same time, he can decide then what he wants. So we are not too fussy about what kind of penetration we will reach. Important thing is to give the choice to the customer.
Since Hyundai is bringing hybrids in India, and there's been a growing argument amongst automakers regarding incentives for hybrids and incentives for EVs. What is your opinion regarding this? How do you feel incentives for hybrids in India?
Look, I would say that I do my job well, and obviously government knows their job well, so they would decide about the taxation. So I don't comment. And anyway, as SIM, this is a body which represents all the OEMs. So I think this is a matter which best left to SIAM and government to discuss.
Moving on to your CNG portfolio, in the past, your CNG portfolio has performed comparatively well. Just help us understand what is the road ahead for your CNG portfolio in India. Are you planning to introduce more models, new technology in CNG? Help us understand that.
Yes, like I mentioned, in a country as big as India and with so many diverse kind of customers, CNG provides a very potent tool. At the same time, we believe that CNG is a very potent tool at the entry level customers. Especially say in the less than 10, 11 lakhs, 12 lakh segment, because that is where customer is very conscious about the initial cost of acquisition, and so we provide CNG in Neos, in Aura, in Exter, and it is doing very well. You talked about new innovations. We had a dual cylinder CNG introduced in Exter. The penetration has almost doubled. Customers are really liking it. We introduced it in Neos as well. Some great response again. So CNG numbers continue to go up. About the future, I will only say that yes, this opens up a lot of opportunity. At the same time, we believe that CNG is for the bigger SUVs. Probably CNG may not be the right choice. Customer would rather prefer a petrol or a diesel or maybe other fuel types, going electrics or maybe going forward hybrids. But for the entry level, CNG looks to be a great option.
Moving on to your export strategy, you have mentioned that you are focusing a lot on exports given the domestic market condition. Help us understand that what is the export penetration that you are targeting by 2030, and what are the key markets that you are looking right now for your exports?
So if you see, India is a hub for emerging markets as far as Hyundai Group is concerned. And so we are exporting to more than 80 countries, primarily in the Middle East, in Africa, in Latin America, in Central Asia. Of course, the nearby countries as well. Our current contribution of exports is about 21% in terms of volume and 23% in terms of revenue. Going forward, we believe that more and more opportunities are coming in. Now we are going to introduce new models, and most of our models are there for both domestic market as well as export market. So I think more and more opportunities are coming in, and I think we have an upside to increase the export penetration to maybe 30% going forward in the next few years.
You are present in almost all the segments in domestic automobile industry, but right now small car segment is facing slight hiccup. Help us understand that, being a major player in the small car segment, what are the factors behind this decline of a small car segment, and what strategies Hyundai Motor India has in place as an OEM to to revive the segment?
First thing is, I don't think there's any problem. My belief is that customer has moved up, and today we have Neos. Neos is very good from a functional point of view, from aspiration point of view, from value point of view. So and we see a lot of first timers buying the Neos. Also, we see a lot of first time customers buying a Venue directly, or a Creta for that matter. So I think this is one big change which is happening, that the Indian customers' aspirations are going up, and he is moving on. He doesn't want to compromise. He doesn't want to compromise on space. He doesn't want to compromise on safety. He doesn't want to compromise on technology. He wants the best AVNT in the car. So this is something which we must understand. And I believe as long as industry continues to grow at a CAGR of 4.5 to 5%. Number two, as long as the first time buyer percentage keeps on going up. Like for example, Hyundai's first time buyer percentage has gone up by almost 5 to 6% in the last 5 years. So I don't think there is any problem. The only thing is that yes, we have to accept that Indian customer is becoming more aspirational, and that is what is really very good, because that means that customer does not want to compromise, and he wants, and especially after COVID, we have seen that customer wants to travel with his family, and he wants the comfort for all the members in the family. Like for example, 6 airbags. We were one of the first mass OEMs to standardize 6 airbags, because we felt that yes, safety is so important and customer does not want to compromise. So I think as more and more regulations also come in, as more and more customers becoming younger and aspirational, it is very obvious, it has happened across the world and it is happening in India also, that the customer moves up. At the same time, still hatches are 25%, which is almost 1 million sales. So it is a very important segment for us, and that is why we have Neos, we have Aura, in the small sedan segment. Then we have Exter as an SUV. So you see, one more thing, it is very important. So while hatches may reduce, but segments like Exter have come in. Today the entry SUV or micro SUV segment is also contributing around 6% to the overall market. Now all those customers have, obviously they were earlier hatch customers. The price range is the same. So it is not that these are all customers in the 6 lakhs to 10 lakh rupees price range. But earlier they were buying hatches, now they are buying SUV because they find more value in there. So I think it's just about shifting of preference, and as long as total numbers are going up on a CAGR basis, there's nothing to worry.
You mentioned about SUVs, and Hyundai's SUV portfolio is performing comparatively well in terms of peers as well. So what is your growth plan for SUVs in India? Can you shed some light on how do you foresee SUV taking off in the next 5 years?
Look, we have been always ahead of the curve in terms of identifying trends. I mentioned about Creta, and of course this is the 10th year of Creta, and I'm very happy to report that January to May also Creta is the number 1 SUV in the country. So it continues to raise new benchmarks. Every year we are clocking double-digit growth. So going forward, of course, we have a great, even currently if you see, we have the Creta in the mid SUV segment, we have the Venue in the compact SUV segment, we have the Exter in the entry SUV segment, we have the Alcazar in the mid-high SUV segment, we have the Tucson in the high SUV segment, we have the Ioniq 5. So I already mentioned about our plan for future SUVs. So we believe that as long as you can bring in new technologies, new body types, new features, customers will always want to have your car. On top of it, we are also very much aware that service is very important. Today, our service network is as strong as the sales network. We have more than 1600 service points in the country. Also, our rural network is now 47% of our total network. And SUVs in the rural areas are also contributing 68% to the total sales. We have now deployed more than 100 mobile service vans to service rural customers. So I think it's a very comprehensive strategy where we are trying to lead the way in terms of SUV segment in India.
A final question, how do you see Hyundai Motor India contributing to domestic automobile market in the next 5 years?
No, we are very, very positive about India and the fact that our Pune plant is coming. With this, the capacity will go up. Current capacity is 824,000. In the first phase, 170,000 will be added this Q4 of calendar, which means we are reaching 994. In the second phase, 80,000 more will be added in 2028. We are close to 1.1 million. So you can see that our capacity is going up by almost 30%. So we are very, very optimistic about India, and we believe that with our new model cycle and this capacity, both the domestic as well as exports for Hyundai will grow, and we will continue to contribute not only to the Indian auto industry but to the growth of the country as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching Business Today.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe. If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.